With day number 1 of the Call of Duty League Madrid Major 1 coming to an end, and it surely did not disappoint. A day with big games, drama, and upsets, and it's only day 1. Here we go game by game, starting off with Atlanta FaZe versus Boston Breach. Here, let's head into the desk. This is Steven Portillo here with Surge Media, and here we'll be covering the Call of Duty League 1 Major in Madrid first day. Here he is with yesterday's schedule. It's recorded beforehand, and the first game was Atlanta FaZe versus Boston Breach. These games were played more earlier in the US because this is in Madrid. These games are playing here in Europe. So people here, American fans, will have to wake up way earlier. 10 games around 8 a.m., 10 a.m., which games usually start around what 3 o'clock in here. So yeah, this is the first major in Europe since Modern Warfare 2019, during the CDL franchise beginning era, and with one of the teams actually being linked was Madrid Heretics back in the day, which never happened, and London Royal Ravens took its spot, or they were bidding a war or whatever. But now we finally have a Madrid major. It's been years I've been asking for it, me especially, with being a huge fan of Heretics back in when they were in Call of Duty in the CWL. You know, their fan base and everything, what they represent, is what I think the league really needs, and I think that's also helped with general mates coming into the league, helping out just the European fan base grow, and just trying to make Call of Duty as big as possible. Here we have a bracket of New Land New Streak, which is just when was the last time your team has won an event. FaZe is number 1 with just recently winning the EWC World Championship back in MW3 a few months ago, and OpTic is not that far off with winning Call of Duty Champs around a couple months ago as well. Toronto Ultra and LA Thieves just recently winning a event past game, so they are not that far behind. But with Seattle Surge, they haven't won an event since Vanguard, and I remember that vividly when that underrated team was Simp, Pred, Mac, and Accuracy, climbing their way through the ranks. People unexpecting them playing good, but their last event win was in Vanguard. And with Rokkr, with youngster Standy coming to the scene, winning them helping them win the event with Attach down in Call of Duty Cold War. So if they didn't add New York Subliners, aka Cloud9, into this bracket, which not sure why, because technically it's just a rebrand. But yeah, if your team's not up here, let's see how this bracket changes throughout the season. Here is the bracket heading into tomorrow, with Atlanta FaZe beating Boston Breach 3-0. That puts them through the next round, with Toronto Ultra comfortably winning against a poor Vancouver Surge. With the likes of their players, I feel like they could have done way better, but we'll go into depth more afterwards. They will be going against Atlanta FaZe in winners round 1, with LA Thieves beating Carolina Royal Ravens pretty comfortably. They smoked them in the hard point, so that's a bit of a surprise because they do look pretty good online. LA Thieves will be going against Miami Heretics, with them surprisingly beating the favorites OpTic Texas. Here is tomorrow's schedule. We'll be going. Here is actually today's schedule. I'm just recorded way afterwards. Vegas Falcons against Carolina Royal Ravens. The game just happened. They got 3-0'd. Falcons had a chance in S&D, but that's gonna be for another video, maybe later today. Minnesota Rokkr against Vancouver Surge. That game is honestly, it could be either or. You know, the way Vancouver played yesterday, people are not really looking into it, but the way Rokkr, it could be either or, honestly. General Mates versus OpTic is going to be huge because a huge fan base are in the arena for General Mates, and there's also, you know, OpTic is the biggest name in Call of Duty, so they have a huge fan base as well. So we'll see how the crowd goes with that game, because the General Mates crowd is something you've never seen in CDL. And here's Cloud9 New York versus Boston Breach. Cloud9 has looked awful this whole season. Breach, I do like Breach's team, but for me, Cloud9 has a bunch of players I really like. I really hope they can just come out of it and try to win. Here we are with game number 1, with Atlanta FaZe beating Boston Breach 3-0. Honestly, it was not close at all. FaZe were just the more aggressive team here in this matchup. For me, like Boston, they were just struggling to keep up pace. FaZe, you can see here, and so the maps were red card for hardpoint, red card for S&D, protocol for control, skyline for hardpoint, and protocol for search and destroy. Protocol is honestly FaZe's best map, so it was kind of hard for them for playing for Boston playing in protocol. But they still got smacked either or. And it's not wrong that Boston Breach definitely look way better in scrims, way better online. I guess it's just, land is completely different online. Land is nowhere near close. If you're doing amazing in scrims, you're doing amazing on qualifying, and you go to land, it's completely different. So maybe that's why Boston Breach did not look good. Here you can see here is just terrible from Boston Breach. Everyone's negative, only close to Snoopy, who I think Snoopy actually had a pretty decent game. You can see here damage, she's the second lowest out of them. But I think Snoopy was just performing just a little bit more better than the rest than Cammy, Awake, and Purge. But FaZe here, Simp and aBeZy, that is why they're the greatest Call of Duty duo of all time. I think the way they just play together, the way they've been put together for years. So it's not weird that they are performing the way how they are today, especially when people thought the roster might split after champs of last season. Then they went out to win EWC. If they didn't win EWC, who knows if this team would even happen. Cellium was saying he might have got dropped. Maybe aBeZy will go somewhere else. You never know. Everything was just everything was a mess, and especially the beginning of this season being 0-3, FaZe were just not looking at its best, but they win minor one. They come in here beating Boston Breach comfortably 3-0. So Atlanta FaZe just being back at its best. Here Simp and aBeZy, with aBeZy being 58 and 41, 1.4 KD with around 6,000 damage and 98 Slayer rating. aBeZy for me, people always give Simp the credit. People always like Simp. But for me, I've always been, I love Simp. Ever since he was in United, big fan, always, I feel like everyone wanted to be like him, a youngster, winning champs, rookie year, coming in season late, being one of the best players in the world, But aBeZy, I feel like he doesn't really get the credit he deserves. I think he's just as good as aBeZy. They played differently, but similar, if that makes sense. Here's Simp with a 60-46 with a 1.3 KD and 6,000 damage as well, just 300 more with a 110.7 Slayer rating. The Tiny Terrors, they are, for me, they are the greatest duo of all time. I don't think that, Scum Formal or Scum Kremp or whatever you want to say. I generally think that aBeZy and Simp, they can solidify themselves as, they could be the greatest players of all time. But, what a performance from the Tiny Terrors. With Atlanta FaZe gone into this season, personally for me, I wasn't a huge fan of Drazah coming into the team. I feel like, for me, sort of like maybe I'm going soccer terms, but like Arsenal, playing a false nine up top, like Kai Havertz, that kind of reminds me of Drazah in this team. Especially when they're playing not that good in the beginning half, I'm like, would one of them get dropped? But FaZe will be FaZe. They are the greatest CDL team of all time. Or brand, or not brand, just like in general, Atlanta FaZe, most championships, most everything. Do they even have the most championships? I'm just making that top of my head. But just Cellium, for me, he's disgusting. He's been disgusting all past minor and qualifying. Simp aBeZy, just Simp and aBeZy, greatest duo. With Drazah, I feel like he's always been the odd man out for FaZe. Cellium, these three, Cellium, aBeZy, and Simp, has been the core three of FaZe since 2020. Cellium has been in FaZe since 2018. It's just so that core three, there's always going to be an odd man out, and is Drazah finally going to be that final person to like solidify himself as that fourth man for FaZe? They went through RCDs, they went through Slasher, MMW, they had Major Maniac, so What was that? FaZe, Major Maniac, and RCDs. No, well, RCD Slasher, Major Maniac is the top. Today I can go in my head, and then now there's Drazah. So will Drazah be that final four for FaZe? Here with Boston Breach, with Purge, Cammy, Snoopy, and Wake. For me, I'm a massive fan with Snoopy. I knew him when he was in Boston Academy. Sensor was talking about him. You know, people saying he had better movement than Shotzzy, which is just ridiculous. But Snoopy, Boston has always wanted him to be that guy for the team. Never dropping him. He's been here since Vanguard, towards the end of Vanguard, and he's never gonna drop. Every other player has been dropped besides him. They really want to make him, I guess, to that franchise player, that player that they believe that can be that star player for them. Like a Shotzzy for OpTic or a Simp for FaZe. But yeah, Snoopy. I've always rated Snoopy. It's just, I think, poor circumstances, especially like how they play today. Snoopy, I think he can definitely become a really good player. He is a good player, but to be up there, is this team it? I don't know. There's Big Wake, who's always been fond of since MW19. Florida Mutineers. He's always been, for me, a really good player. Just going around different teams. There's Cammy. Cam is Cammy. Toronto Ultra legend. One of the best European players we've seen. And then there's Purge, who's started playing last year with Vegas Legion. I'll mumble that. Who looked pretty solid under Vegas Legion, and he got his move to Boston. But this, on paper, I do like this Boston team. I don't know. We'll see what happens with Boston going later on in losers bracket. Here we are with Toronto Ultra going against Seattle Surge. This game was just another comfortably win for Toronto. Who cares about that 6-5 S&D? They were terrible. Vancouver Surge were just terrible. People were saying vivid about his eye, something wrong with his eye they couldn't see. I think he had like an eye infection or something. Sure, that can play a fact. Of course, it would play a fact. Don't get me wrong, but on paper, I really do rate this team. I really do. And honestly, I wasn't fond of this Toronto Ultras team coming into this season. But JoeDeceives, he's a key player in this team. He's looking really good. JoeDeceives, for me, he's a really good player. I really liked him under LA Thieves. Then there's CleanX and Insight, who's been in Toronto for years. And then there's Beans. I was a huge fan of Beans coming into the team. It's kind of hard when you go from Envoy and Scrappy, to JoeDeceives and Beans. But Toronto played really good out there. Vancouver Surge, it's just, I think it's the same thing with Boston Breach. They look pretty decent online, and then you come to land, it's completely different areas, completely different on what you do. With let's look at this team. With Abuzah, Nastie, 04, and Hicksy. Abuzah was in this team last year. Nastie was in LA Thieves 04, and then Hicksy. Always really liked Hicksy. He got dropped from Toronto, Modern Warfare 2 year, going into the 3, and no team picked him up, which I was really surprised. Hicksy was one of my favorite players during Modern Warfare 2, and I was really surprised. I'm really happy to see him in the team finally. Then there's 04, he can be really good. It's the same thing. I guess it's just circumstances. It's just it's just how you gotta I guess not even perform itself. It's just how you gotta get out. Play. I think it's just more of a team thing instead of just a singular like yourself type of thing. And just Nasty. I do remember Nasty being such a key part to that London Royal Ravens team back in Vanguard, and he was dropped afterwards to go into the next season, And you know, I really like Nastie as a player. You know, Byron, he's such a you know, he's been around for a while now. Nastie's been around for a while, so I think he'd be such a, you know, key part to SSurge, and you will see what happens going on down in the losers bracket. Here we can see Toronto's road to Major 1 with 3-1 against FaZe, 3-2 against Seattle, 3-0 Falcons, 3-2 Heretics, 3-2 Rokkr, 3-1 LAG mates, and 3-1 loss to OpTic. They're about to go a perfect score, but you know, lost against the world champs, and you can't really complain about that. You know, on paper, Boston, or not Boston, Toronto, or the best team, I guess you can say, coming to the tournament. You know, obviously people want to say OpTic or favorites because of the way they've been playing, especially Huke or FaZe with Cellium. But you know, on paper, Toronto was winning their games. Sure, it's there's big teams out there like OpTic and FaZe, and you know, people are, you know, always talking about the LA Thieves team, you know, with that superstar team. But you know, Toronto, I think they could make it far in this tournament. You know, if they just keep playing the way that they are. And yeah, we'll see how Toronto goes. Like here in 04, back and form the last 4 SNDs. He's been you know, trying to be more of that, I guess, SND type player. Definitely been trying to play more with that. You can see with map 5, map 2, map 5, and map 2. You know, almost going double digits in all of them. With you know, the KD having 1.8, 1.6, 1.2s. You know, it's not that bad for 04. You know, like I said before, he's such a player that he can be one of the best, but he can be one of the top players in the league. It's just, I guess, circumstances is just, you know, the main thing. So you know, 04, we'll see, you know, how Vancouver Surge goes through this tournament, but I think, you know, 04 is, you know, he's a key factor to that Vancouver Surge team. Here we are with LA Thieves going against Carolina Royal Ravens with a 3-1 win for LA Thieves. Here we can see LA Thieves road to Major 1 with a 3-1 win against Cloud9, 3-2 Atlanta FaZe, 3-1 General Mates, 3-1 Rokkr, a loss to OpTic, 2-3, and then a win with team Miami Heretics, and a loss with Boston Breach. And now here we can see here with Carolina. Now we can see here with Carolina Royal Ravens with a 3-1 win against the Vegas Falcons. I feel bad for them. They just get slammed all the time. 3-1 win against General Mates, 3-0 FaZe, 3-2 Cloud9, 3-1 loss against Boston, 3-2 loss against Seattle Surge, and a 3-2 win against the Miami Heretics. You know, LA Thieves, just if you look at that team, and you're gonna be like, what a team you can see here with, you know, Ghosty having a key part of last season, you know, the way they've been playing towards the end of the MW3 year, and then Envoy. For me, you always been that key part for Toronto, not just Toronto, just I feel like any team he has played for Huntsman, for OpTic, for Gen G, you know, he's just been such a key part of every team that he is, and I really like seeing him having him back in this. You know, previously he's a world champion under this team. Not coming back to where he won, you know, especially being paired up with the likes of Ghosty, Scrappy, and HyDra. I think it'd just really be really good. I think it is really good how, you know, how they're playing. Here we can see with Scrappy with a 2.5 KD, total damage 2300. This is just map 1. He was 23-9 with 123 hill time. Scrappy just looked really good in this game. You know, you can see here that he is leading with top KD with aBeZy in second, CleanX, Envoy, Cellium, Simp, Ghosty, and Drazah following after them. The whole table is just red. The whole thing is just FaZe versus LA Thieves. Maybe that's will be the final of the major, but you know, it's kind of scary when you see it just all red on the board. You know, you can see who's just performing out of their minds, and it's the two teams that won. I mean, sure. I mean, it's only day 1. You know, not all the teams have played yet. But yeah, you just, you know, Scrappy just playing out of his mind. And here is Envoy with his map 4 against Carolina with a 23-10. You know, a minute and 20 seconds in hill time with a 2.3 KD and 12 highest streak kills. You know, I always said that Envoy is just that player for any team that he's in. and I really like to see more of him. And yeah, just a great performance, a pretty decent performance for Envoy today. And the one thing for this team is that HyDra, he's not even playing to his max. HyDra, like LA Thieves, they're winning games. They're performing really good. But HyDra's nowhere near where he's playing. Like, he's not playing bad, but he's nowhere playing at his the best that he could. You know, we always seen that HyDra player throughout these years since he came through in Cold War, of what a superstar player that he is. He's still a superstar player, but he can do so much more, and that's what's scary about it. He hasn't got that, but he hasn't hit that level of his performance yet this season. And just right the second he does, it's gonna be over for pretty much a decent amount of teams in the league, because HyDra, I take HyDra over Shotzzy any day. So I think HyDra, generally, like, player wise, is the best player in the world. So I really want to see HyDra perform. So yeah, we'll see how LA Thieves go. Here we are with the Carolina Royal Ravens with Tej, who played pretty decently last season. Here we are with the Carolina Royal Ravens with TJ Halley, Gwyn, Vivid, and Slasher. They just, it looked like they didn't even show up. Carolina Royal Ravens did not play at their standards how they should be. This team had looked really good online, really good in scrims, but in land, they just looked like they just didn't show up. Sure, that Vivid, I think, might have been a huge problem for them. Maybe it wasn't, but it was just that it's disappointing to see. They looked really good coming to the event. Their best performance they had in a major was back in Vanguard, Major 1, with that 4 European team when they were in London. But it just looked like Carolina just didn't show up. And here is, for me, my favorite game of today. What a shocking, result. No expected Miami Heretics to beating OpTic Texas, the world champions, in Madrid. So yeah, let's go into depth with this game. Here we have OpTic, with Kenny, Dashy, Huke, and Shotzzy. With Pred having that situation that he had, so Huke having to come in instead. But Huke has just looked really, really good online. Huke has been in OpTic before. He knows the environment. He knows, he's played with these players before. So, and Huke is such a talented player. Of course, he's gonna mesh well with pretty much any team that he was, especially in Seattle. I feel like they lost a key player if he was still in Seattle. Not Seattle, Vancouver. Last year, I think they would play way better than they were before. But yeah, this OpTic Texas team, you'll see how far they go through this major. Here we have the maps with Vault being a hardpoint win for Heretics, and then red card, easy 6-1 win for OpTic, and then a 3-0 win in Hacienda Control. And then just a flip around with this Skyline hardpoint. It was just such a close game. Heretics were up by what? It was like 250 to 190 going to the last hill inside, and then OpTic was looking like they're making a comeback, and the Heretics just needed 2 seconds. It was like 248, and eventually I think it was Lucky who managed to break in and get a 2-piece. And I don't think OpTic wasn't ready for that, but what a close hard point. It was just the fans were going crazy, and then there's this S&D Hacienda win too. Just favored Heretics. Heretics just played really good out there. I'm surprised that they actually won, because they got crushed in the hard point and control. But that's the Spanish luck. That's your home major. You need to perform. You need to. So what a performance. And here I really wanted to see is look at, this is their road to Major 1. A 3-0 win against Falcons, respectively, just an easy win. I hate seeing those guys get battered, man. I lost to Seattle Surge, I lost to Boston, and I lost to Toronto 2-3. And then a win against Cloud9, and a loss from LA Thieves, and a loss from Carolina 2. Heretics can't clutch a game 5. You can see all these games. It could have been the other way. Heretics could have went 7-0 going into Major 1. But I just, they, problem with Heretics is that they can't finish a game 5. They can't. So, for me, Heretics is a really good team. They're better than Cloud9. They're better than, for me, I'd prefer them over Boston, Vancouver, and, especially Falcons. But, Rokkr too. Heretics is just a team that got to figure out how to finish game 5, and that's what they did against OpTic. You can see here, OpTic is the number 1 hardpoint team, and OpTic are the best hardpoint team in the world right now. You can see the record is their first in average hold, map ones, everything. So it wasn't surprising when they smoked them game 1. I mean, it was game 1, but yeah, it's just Heretics managed to come out in OpTic. But yeah, that pretty much goes with OpTic versus Miami Heretics. Now we're gonna head back and we're gonna talk about the end of today and going into tomorrow. What a day with crazy games. Very happy and excited to see Call of Duty back in Europe, and game 1 being 2 games that were easily won, and then pretty much 3 games that were easily won with Toronto, LA Thieves, and FaZe, but with an amazing turn of events with Miami Heretics coming out to win in their home major against their lane rivals to OpTic. You'd love to see things like that. So we're gonna go into day number 2, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll see you there.